Welcome to Miles Ahead, the Canadian Points Podcast, brought to you by FrugalFlyer.ca, where we talk about all things miles and points, a hobby that allows us to travel all over the world in style and on a budget. Before we get too far into the episode, a quick reminder to like this video if you're watching on YouTube, leave us a review and a rating wherever you're listening. Today, we are talking about one of the most exciting developments for Canadian points and miles enthusiasts, Hyatt and Aeroplan's surprisingly deep partnership. As per usual, I'm joined by my usual co-hosts, Josh and Jeff. And Josh, I know that you're at least a little bit excited about to explore the Hyatt ecosystem, as Chase Bank in the US really hasn't been your friend over the years.
Yeah, I've had a little taste of Hyatt with a few redemptions here and there, most recently at the Grand Hyatt SFO from some leftover points on a Chase card before they closed it on me. And I haven't gone back into Chase since then. So this is a new and valid avenue for me to perhaps make some more Hyatt redemptions, which is it's very neat. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, as opposed to Josh, I do have the Chase World of Hyatt credit card, so I've gone fairly deep into the World of Hyatt program. It's hard to do as a Canadian. We'll get into this in a bit, but there's just not enough Hyatt properties in the world, at least compared to Marriott and Hilton. So it's really, really difficult to, really engage with the program as a Canadian. So hopefully this really helps.
Yeah, no, I think it should. And the first thing that you need to know about this partnership is that linking your World of Hyatt accounts and Aeroplan accounts is very important. We will put a link to link accounts in the show notes, as there's really no downside to joining those two accounts together. So you should do that right after you're done listening, or even just pause the show now and get that done so that you don't forget to do it. But one of the first things that happens once your accounts are linked is an extra earning rate. So we've got the premium Aeroplan cards, so anything with a $599 annual fee with the best earning rate. And Jeff, what are the earning rates? I know we've got a few different tiers and it's going to get a little bit listicle, but read everything out with a couple of the notes that we have there for all of the ladies and gentlemen listening.
Yeah, I'll just kind of summarize it because like you said, there's 10 cards or something like that. So I'll just kind of maybe break it down by tier. So the premium credit cards, which is the infinite privilege cards and the Aeroplan reserve cards, when you spend at Hyatt using those credit cards to pay for your stay with, you'll earn both Aeroplan points and World of Hyatt points. Really cool. That's a nice little double dip. So the rough earning rates are 2 Aeroplan points and 2 World of Hyatt points. It fluctuates a little bit with some of the cards, but that's the general guideline. For the core Aeroplan credit cards, you're looking at around 1.5 Aeroplan points and 1 Hyatt points. This is per dollar spent. And then some of the business cards earn 2 Aeroplan points and 1 Hyatt point. So pretty good earning rates, I think, for using your Aeroplan card at Hyatt's now. I mentioned this in our news episode a few weeks back. This is kind of almost like a quasi co-branded card in a way now because you're earning Hyatt points by spending on what is now the equivalent of a co-branded credit card, Hyatt credit card in Canada.
It's a weird synergy, like in a good way, not bad weird, just very different. An actual useful partnership is what we're looking at. So
yeah, no, a very useful partnership. And if you're into maximizing and having the cards that earn the most amount of points, there's one card that's on the king of the hill. The Aeroplan Business Reserve card by American Express earns 2.5 Aeroplan points for every dollar you spend at Hyatt, and it gets those 2 Hyatt points, which is, I think, the highest earning travel card in Canada. I can't think of another multiplier that's higher than 4.5 points per dollar off the top of my head. It's almost like guess that card is back again.
It feels like.
Can you guys think of anything? Yeah.
Again, super niche at Hyatt hotels and resorts, but just for that earning category, it's excellent. Yeah, it's stellar.
Yeah. totally. And then do keep in mind that every single Aeroplan card does have foreign transaction fees. So if you are deep into the credit card game and you've got cards that don't charge a foreign transaction fee, you'll want to do the math in terms of how much you value those points. Because unless you've got a really expensive Hyatt stay, you're not going to earn a ton of points from this extra earning rate, but you will earn a little bit more, which is nice. All right, Josh, that's not the only perk. We've got many perks to talk about, but the next one that we're going to touch on also applies to premium credit card holders.
Yes. Status matching is a thing. Unfortunately, not a straight up status match. It's a challenge that you'll have to go through. But if you hold a premium credit card, you actually can do a status challenge that either allows you to earn Discoverist, Explorist, or Globalist. So if you're not familiar with it, Globalist is the highest tier in the World of Hyatt program and comes with all of the benefits that we love, like free breakfast and that sort of thing. So with these 3 tiers, when you do a status challenge, it cuts the nights required significantly. So to earn Discoverist, you only need 4 nights, Explorist only needs 10 nights, and Globalist only needs 20 nights, and that's down from the normal requirement of 60 nights. So you only have to earn a third as many nights during the status challenge. Now, hopefully one of you two can help me out with this. How long do you have to complete the status challenge?
90 days.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so it's
actually
not bad, but it's a
really
lot
have to
of
plan
time
for
to
it.
spend.
Yeah, like especially the
Definitely.
20 nights. That's, not quite a third, a little bit less than a third, but you'd really have to plan it during a, extensive Southeast Asia trip or something, where you're planning on staying.
You'd be surprised. You might also want to plan it around a trip up to Prince George, British Columbia, where there's a Category 1 Hyatt place that's available. Winnipeg is something that gets mentioned quite a lot on the show whenever I have the opportunity. And I mentioned this in a couple previous episodes, but I had globalist status for basically 27 months for the way that it worked out. And I did that mainly because I was staying in the south of France at it was an SLH property. It wasn't a Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That's their new partner, but it was an SLH property back when Hyatt was part of SLH. And I was staying there for 5 nights. And the status match had worked out in such a way that I was also going to bop up to Milan, and I was going to spend 3 nights in Milan. So I already had 8 nights. And what I did to fill the other 20, at the time, the Hyatt House in Winnipeg was a Category 1, and it worked out that I was able to book like 5 or 6 nights at 3,500 points a night. And I just said, you know what, would I pay the total, if I'm remembering correctly, was 35,000 ultimate rewards points. Would I pay 35,000 ultimate rewards points for Globalist? And my answer was yes. So I just basically booked all those stays in. I had my mom check in for me on the Hyatt mobile app, where they run your credit card and you just go in and ruffle up the sheets. And I wasn't actually even in Winnipeg checking in for some of those stays. So that's some of the shenanigans and the fun that you can have with these status challenges if you're willing to do some mattress runs. But for 27 months of Globalist, 35,000 points was undoubtedly worth it. Worth it there.
And that's the thing too, just as you mentioned, the 27 months. So you do earn status for the year that you meet the challenge, and then it's 14 months after. So if you can do a challenge and do it earlier in the year, that just gives you that much more time to enjoy the status. But yeah, if you can find a good spot or a good kind of sweet spot combination of organic stays and a little bit of mattress running, 20 nights is not unreasonable for the highest tier in a program like Hyatt, where I don't have experience, but I hear they still treat high status as meaningful.
Yeah,
so nice to see.
Yeah, no, you definitely feel it. That's for sure. But on top of having that challenge for premium credit card holders, status members also have access to that status challenge. And the real sweet spot is if you're a status member and you're a premium credit card holder, you get 2 cracks at the status challenge. So if you have something happen where travel plans change for your first attempt, you get another attempt to do it later on. Now, of course, we don't know the details about it yet, but I would have to assume that your status challenges can't overlap. So you can't activate one, and then if you have something happen, activate another one and keep those other nights. I would assume that it has to be two separate
That would
90-day blocks.
be my guess. Yeah, I think you're onto it.
Yeah. But that's just complete speculation. Yeah. So every time you activate one of these status matches, we're assuming that you're going to have to start from zero all over again. But Jeff, that's not the only perks that premium credit card holders get in the Hyatt program just for having an Aeroplan premium credit card.
No, and I'll just quickly touch on Discoverist status because I have it, because the Chase credit card comes with it. It's the entry-level status, so the benefits are largely very basic and not that useful. The 2 p.m. late checkout is probably the most useful benefit, and I've never had a problem having this approved. So they're pretty good about that at the very least. And then you also get the 5-tier qualifying night credits. These are applied to status. So if you have the Chase World of Hyatt card, these actually stack, so you would get 10 per year. And then, as you mentioned, you get the additional annual attempt, 90-day status challenge attempt per year. So useful. I mean, like I said, Discoverist status isn't going to get you much, but better than nothing, I guess.
Especially just for holding a card.
Yeah.
Again, like we always talk low-hanging fruit. It's not bad. I can always appreciate late checkout when you have a late flight in the evening, so nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, definitely. And those extra tier qualifying nights will also count towards any milestone benefits. Jeff, have you been able to unlock any of the new milestone benefits? Have you had any experience with those?
Well, yeah, they start at, I want to say 20 nights. Oh, geez, it's been a while since I unlocked one, but I want to say 20 nights they start at, and I think it's just like a club access award and maybe a 5,000 point certificate or 5,000 bonus points when you stay at like a Hyatt place. So the club access award is actually pretty useful because you don't get Hyatt club access until Globalist.
Yeah.
And Hyatt club lounges are usually very, very, very good.
Very nice. Well, I'm glad we've got some experience with that. Now, the next perk, or the next fold to this partnership, is going to be converting points between the two programs. Josh, I know you're not super keen on this, but that's part of the reason why we've got 3 different voices on the show, is to give different opinions on things. But give us the rundown in terms of how you can convert points between Hyatt and Air Canada Aeroplan.
For sure. So once you've linked your accounts, any World of Hyatt member can convert World of Hyatt points to Aeroplan points. It has to be a minimum of 5,000 points and 1,000 point increments thereafter. And so it's essentially a 2-to-1. So converting 50,000 World of Hyatt points would net you 25,000 Aeroplan points. Not great.
Ooh,
not great.
No.
Yes. Not the win we're looking for. So that's available for any World of Hyatt member. There's no really requirement to be able to do that. But going the other way, so going from Aeroplan to World of Hyatt, is an exclusive perk for Aeroplan Elite status members. So you need to hold at least 25K to be able to do the transfer in this direction. So if you do hold Aeroplan status and you have your account linked, you can convert Aeroplan points to World of Hyatt bonus points at a rate of 2-to-1 with a minimum of 500 Aeroplan points at a time. There are another few other limitations. So conversions going from Aeroplan to World of Hyatt are also capped at 100,000 Aeroplan points per day or 250,000 Aeroplan points per week. This angle is a little bit more interesting. And we might have some differing thoughts here. So we were chatting casually before this episode, and I was like, I don't know if I'll ever really see the value in this, but then Danny had a couple good examples, and he might be onto something. So what do you guys think?
Yeah. If for anybody not familiar with the World of Hyatt program, they are the last loyalty program with hotels. Well, I shouldn't say the last one with hotels that still have an award chart, because Wyndham exists, and Wyndham technically still has an award chart,
truly
even though it's not
major.
Published.
You know?
Yeah, truly major and appealing, widely
Yes.
appealing loyalty program that still has an award chart. So you can predict how much a property is going to cost. Now, with this new award chart that they've come out with just a few months ago, it's as close as you can get to dynamic pricing with still having an award chart. So we've got 8 different categories and 5 different prices within those 8 categories. So it fluctuates a lot. However, if you're traveling within North America, there are a lot of category 1s and 2s that are around, and those are going to be anywhere between 3,000 and I think up to 17,000 points for the night. So, multiply those numbers by 2, and that's how many Aeroplan points you would need to stay there. So if you are, road tripping, Hyatt houses, Hyatt places on the side of the road, 6,000 Aeroplan points a night. I mean, you are not going to find a Marriott property in North America for under 20,000 points a night. That just probably doesn't exist unless it's the Roach Motel in the middle of nowhere. And typically these Hyatt properties are, really nice. Like, I have stayed at a few not so nice Hyatt properties, but I've stayed at far more Marriott properties where I strongly considered leaving. And that has never happened with a Hyatt. So the other thing that you would want to think about for some examples is I have been not loving my Aeroplan points as much as I used to, because the domestic value is kind of like 1.5 cents, maybe 1.7 cents per point. And you can do really well with some low category Hyatt properties that you get 3 cents, 4 cents per point at. So if you can get more value out of a Hyatt point, or more value out of half a Hyatt point than you can out of a full Aeroplan point, well, there you go in terms of where the value lies. But Jeff, I know you've obviously got access to the World of Hyatt credit card, an easier way to earn, less appealing for somebody that doesn't have access to Chase or Bilt down in the U.S.
Yeah, I don't really like either of these, especially the especially the Aeroplan to Hyatt. I don't get that one. But even if, say, you want to get Hyatt points and you send your Aeroplan points or send your Hyatt points to Aeroplan, there's just so many ways to rack up tons and tons of Aeroplan.
Yeah.
I just can't ever envision myself being that desperate that I need to transfer Hyatt points to Aeroplan. It would be an absolute last resort. So
we kind of have a weird dichotomy here of Hyatt hard to earn through credit cards, much more limited, where Aeroplan, everything is partnered with it, and there's co-branded cards left, right, and center. So I get that angle too. I see it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should ever transfer their Hyatt points to Aeroplan because you earn so few Hyatt points, even for stays. Like, as a globalist, you only earn 8 points per dollar. That's comparison to Marriott Titanium that earns 17.5. So we're talking about more than double the amount of Marriott points that you earn. So it makes sense that Marriott properties are also usually twice as expensive. However, for Canadians who haven't had access to Hyatt before, the value that you're going to find is going to be in the lower end properties, certainly not in the high end anymore, with up to 75,000 points for a Hyatt free night. But speaking of Hyatt free nights, you can redeem Aeroplan points for Hyatt free nights, and this is definitely less appealing. Jeff, what do we have here with sending your points for certificates both ways? Actually, it's not the only way that you can redeem points for something in the other program, because they also have the Aeroplan certificate. But please give everybody the details.
Right. So there's, for those that don't know, World of Hyatt has 2 free nights. So they actually have 3, but they have 2 main free night certificates. The first one is a category 1 to 4 free night certificate. This is the very common one. This is the one that comes with the Chase World of Hyatt credit card. You can redeem 25,000 Aeroplan points for a category 1 to 4 free night certificate. This is probably the more appealing one than the other one we're about to talk about, because under this scenario, you can probably get close to 1-to-1 if you're redeeming for a category 4 that's pricing at the upper or top or whatever they call it. I think it's called top now, because that category 4 certificate will cover any category 4 hotel, regardless of how it's pricing that night. So that's kind of nice. Yep. So under that circumstance, you can get probably close to 1-to-1, because I think category fours, when they're pricing at the higher end, are around 20 to 30. I think it might be 25,000 or 30,000. I forget exactly.
25K.
Right.
Yeah, 25,000 points.
So under the ideal scenario, it's 1-to-1, which is acceptable in my opinion.
Yeah.
The other one, not so much. 75,000 Aeroplan. I mean, are either of you gonna trade a business class flight
No.
almost anywhere for one night at a Hyatt hotel?
Doesn't matter how
Never.
nice it is. No.
No.
Yeah.
No. That one's a little out to lunch. Yeah.
Yeah, the value pretty much dies there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
but I would happily trade, 100,000 point sign up bonus. Let's say I got the Aeroplan Reserve or something for 4 nights in a category 4 Hyatt. I would do that every day of the week. And even the elevated bonuses we talked about a few weeks ago with the new Marriott Amex cards at 110,000 points, I think it would be a challenge to stay anywhere 4 nights for 110,000 Marriott points.
For sure. Okay, and then going the other way, you can redeem 50,000 Hyatt for a 30,000 point Aeroplan flight certificate. This essentially is just a 30,000 point discount on a redemption. This one again is in the below. I would rate this one as below average as well. Not super exciting. Probably wouldn't ever consider doing this. Just earning 50,000 Hyatt is really, really difficult unless you are like a hardcore Hyatt stayer. So again, might have its uses, but pretty niche as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely. Yeah, and just to give everybody an idea of earning 50,000 Hyatt points as a base member, you earn 5 points per dollar. You'd have to spend $10,000 at Hyatt hotels to get 50,000 points, and you'd be redeeming that for 30,000 Aeroplan points. No, thank you. And that certificate would expire as well, by the way. You wouldn't just be redeeming for points. So, Josh, you're probably the last person who's going to have World of Hyatt status right now. However, we also have some benefits for World of Hyatt elites that we should mention.
Yes. So not super exciting, but World of Hyatt elites do receive a $20 annual Air Canada flight credit. I'm sure all of us have accrued these through other partnerships at some point. I don't know if I've ever burned one personally, but they're there. $20 is $20. If you have a use for it, take advantage. What's interesting, though, is coming later in 2026 is we do have a status challenge for World of Hyatt elites where they can challenge and earn up to Aeroplan 75K status, which is huge. That's a very significant level of status within the Aeroplan program.
Star Alliance Gold.
That's what I'm saying. Star Alliance Gold, all of the perks. I mean, you're not super elite at that level, but damn, it's really, really good. The one thing, while we know this is coming, we don't know what it's going to look like in what form or function or requirement. So the usefulness of this will be to be determined, I guess. And we'll have to chat more about that when we get that announcement. I don't really know what I expect for what it to look like. Any thoughts on your guys' end?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably the person that flies Air Canada revenue tickets the most, as my work in the automotive industry takes me all across Canada. I'm quite excited for this because what would make sense to me based on what we see from most other status challenges is you have to take a set amount of flights or you have to earn a set amount of status qualifying credits, which is literally Air Canada's SQC, within a set amount of time. And usually how my work schedule goes is I'm not doing much and then I'm doing everything all at once. And they were not to get too far into the details of my job, but I'm quite expensive when somebody takes me and puts me somewhere. So typically if we've got 2 days off, they will want to bring me all the way home and then bring me all the way back out there, so that they don't have to pay me for days doing nothing. So I'm usually flying 5 or 6 flights every week. So if I can time this and I can choose when my status challenge starts, I would assume, let's say you rack up 30,000 SQC, a little bit under half the requirement that it takes to get Air Canada 75K, and you do that, in 1/4 of the year that they would, I'm hoping, they would give you a 75K status. But I could also see a path in where if you have World of Hyatt Elite status and Aeroplan Elite status, they just bump you up a couple levels. I think this is more targeted at people that have no Air Canada Aeroplan status and are just World of Hyatt Elites. Because a lot of the benefits that we've seen on these Canadian cards are specific to Canadian issued Aeroplan credit cards. So I don't know. I can be excited by some of it, but I can also see a world in which they're targeting Americans to fly Air Canada and not Air Canada flyers to concentrate their flying. Jeff, you had some thoughts just before I jumped in.
Yeah, I think it's almost certainly going to be tied to SQC. So, I mean, if you think about it, if they're like, when you look at the status match going the other way, they're knocking off 2/3 essentially of what's required. So in an ideal world, it could be you need to earn 1/3 of your way to 75K in 90 days to maybe match to 75K. That's under an ideal circumstance, of course. But if it's something like that, that's going to be pretty amazing. I'm not sure they're going to be quite that generous, but we'll see, because Air Canada is pretty stingy when it comes to granting especially something like 75K. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think you're right that it's almost certainly going to be tied to SQC. We'll just have to wait and see how much.
Yeah. Josh, do you have any speculation in terms of what this might look like?
I think well, Jeff, the example you shared, I'd be shocked if it was that. That not free is not the right word, but generous maybe. I don't have super high hopes, but it's also not something that I obviously would participate in, so I'm a little bit, biased. I'd be more interested, maybe not up to 75K. I'm curious as to what like 50K requires, because that would be like a nice and meaningful level that I would maybe be more interested in. But I don't have any clue what it would look like, so I'm gonna wait and see. Purely out of interest, because it's not something I'll be doing in the short term. So
yeah, I could also see a world in which they only allow 50K and 75K to be reached by like a globalist, right? Like you have to be globalist to get that level of status,
because they still want to like keep it a bit, right?
For sure. And there's going to be a ton of people now that have World of Hyatt status from the Aeroplan premium credit cards.
Yeah.
So my question is, like, let's say, let's give me as an example, and I earn globalist status through a status challenge later this year. And next year, I am a World of Hyatt Elite. I have World of Hyatt Elite globalist status. Does that now make me eligible, even though I haven't accumulated the right amount of nights?
I was wondering about the circular nature of this. I know that's like, there must have been some conversations between these teams at some points, because like you could loop so easily depending on the requirements.
Yes.
And that's a dangerous spot for any loyalty program. Great for us. Dangerous for any loyalty program to be in, when you can loop matches back and forth endlessly. We've seen that with some other programs in the past. So
yeah. So I wonder if they're going to throw like a elite qualifying night requirement on this too. Like you have to be an elite, but then you also have to have stayed this many nights. Because like, for example, we'll talk about the Marriott Bonvoy partnership a little bit later, but I have United Silver status because I'm a Marriott Titanium member, but I can't take that United Silver status and match it to any other U.S. airline because I didn't earn that status. I was gifted that status. So I'm probably thinking that it's going to be something like that, where you have to have a certain amount of qualifying activity to be eligible for it. And I think the perfect situation would be if let's say you have to just earn any status the right way. So what is it normally for Discoverist, Jeff? Is it 15 nights, 20 nights for Discoverist, the lowest
20.
level?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say you just earned 20 nights, you spent 20 nights. That would not only get you the globalist status match, but it would also potentially open the door where you've accumulated enough qualifying activity to be a Hyatt Elite. Yeah. And then you're able to unlock the full array of Aeroplan status matches. So it's interesting. It's fun to speculate about that kind of stuff. I can certainly say that nobody predicted this in our predictions for 2026 episode we did at the end of 2025.
No chance. It's too far out there. I think it's great, but Hyatt in Canada was not on my radar at all.
No. Hyatt in Canada is back, or it's not even back. It's here.
It's here.
Welcome.
Yeah.
It's like color TV finally reaching the northern communities. All right. So takeaways from this partnership. To me, one of my big takeaways is that the Aeroplan eStore looks far more interesting as a way to earn Hyatt points, especially for those that don't have access to Bilt and Rakuten in the US. So for those that don't know, just to loop you in here, if you've got a Bilt account and a Rakuten US account, you can earn Bilt points through the Rakuten shopping portal. If you don't have access to that, this is a great way to earn Hyatt points, and I might even shift some of my Viator purchases to the eStore rather than using Rakuten and Bilt or Rakuten and Amex. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is the Aeroplan eStore more appealing now that you can transfer those points you earn to Hyatt? Is it kind of the same? What do we think?
I mean, Aeroplan eStore has kind of been my go-to for a long time, for a lot of stuff. So I don't think they'll change my use for it, but it does add another lens of potential redemptions. Like, I think out of everything we kind of talked about, I could see the use for like the Cat 1 to 4 for certain redemptions in certain locations during certain events or anything like that. I think there's crazy value there. So yeah, I think it continues to build a case, as we've talked about many times, for continuing to earn Aeroplan, right? It's Aeroplan just becomes more useful in another avenue. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Jeff, I imagine you echo those thoughts.
Yeah, it's not. I still use the Aeroplan eStore almost exclusively, unless I'm buying something from the US and I'm going to use Rakuten. So it's probably not going to change the way I use my Aeroplan points. But like Josh said, more options is always good.
Yeah, definitely. An interesting way that I look at this now is that the Cobalt card also earns 2.5 Hyatt points for every dollar you spend on food and beverage purchases, right? So while you would be having some opportunity costs there that, you're not getting 6 Marriott points or you're not getting 5 Aeroplan points, de facto, right, transferring Amex MR to Aeroplan to Hyatt, I think that's appealing. And considering that, let's talk about the pathway to Hyatt points of earning 5 Amex MRs, then converting those MRs into 5 Aeroplan and then into Hyatt. Comparing that to transferring Amex MR to Marriott, you had to make this transfer. It's not an option of using them for flights. Jeff, what would you rather do? Would you rather have 2.5 Hyatt points, or would you rather have 6 Marriott points?
So the way I approach this, because I do stay at a fair amount of Hyatts and I always enjoy my stays there, I find it really difficult to move away from Marriott just because giving up lounge access, free breakfast is really, really difficult because I'm not going to get that at Hyatt. And I find that's just immediately just closes the door on Hyatt in almost all situations. So if I had to make the choice, I would reluctantly choose Marriott, but Marriott would be my choice.
Okay, so let me add some rebuff to that. Let's say that you successfully completed a status challenge, and now you had globalist status in one, and globalist status with Hyatt, and you have titanium status with Marriott. Which way do you lean?
That would change things. I would probably go with Hyatt just because I think they're... Every time I stay at a Hyatt, like the Grand Hyatt and Hyatt Regencies are really, really nice. They have great lounges. They usually have excellent facilities. Generally, I find them to just be a slightly higher level of service compared to similar Marriott properties. And because I like a little bit of variety, I get, when you stay at one JW Marriott, they kind of all blend together into one. So from that perspective, just for a little bit of change, I would personally really I would like to stay at Hyatt's more. And if I had globalists, that would maybe even incentivize me to continue to do these status matches and re-earn. Because once you have globalist status, it's technically easier to earn in a way, or at least in theory.
And Josh, Yeah, I want to hear Josh's thoughts on this too. But one thing that we may not have mentioned is that the Aeroplan status challenge for Hyatt is an ongoing thing each year. This isn't a one and done. It's every single year you get 2 chances at the status match. So that's definitely worth knowing that you can keep doing it. Josh, what are your thoughts? Would you rather have 2.5 Hyatt or 6 Marriott?
Yeah, so when Jeff started talking and said the status thing, that's where my mind went to, is it's hard to give up all of the luxuries we have with status. But if all else is equal, so I've stayed at a few Hyatts in my time. I've had club lounge access, and I was impressed. Honestly, I stayed at one in Fukuoka in Japan, and it was awesome. It was a Grand Hyatt. The lounge was excellent. Again, I know I'm skewed with Japan. I feel like with the award chart with Hyatt, even though it's become less of a rigid award chart in recent times with the changes, you still have more certainty in what you're going to get for your points. Marriott, that is not the case. Marriott is all over the place sometimes. So if I had the highest level of status in both, all things considered, I would probably lean towards Hyatt. Also, just because I do so much Marriott, I'd like to try something different. Like new is exciting, different brands, right? But you know, I wouldn't do either unless I was forced to. But you know, yes,
you're forced to.
Yes, but I think both have their own pros and cons. But for someone who wants to explore Hyatt, like, this is probably the best way to do it without having to go deep into US cards and a bunch of other shenanigans, right? So
definitely. Okay, so when we think about the Hyatt versus Marriott conversation, you guys talk a lot on the show that you often travel outside of North America, right? I know Jeff does his, annual football trip with his dad and his brother, go stay somewhere in NA, but oftentimes you guys aren't zipping around in the continental US, or, there's not many Hyatts in Canada, but you guys are really staying international, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're a more North America traveler, it's definitely worth mentioning that if you're staying within North America, and especially traveling into the US where there's tons of Hyatts, Hyatt points are going to be way more valuable than Marriott. Like, not just a little bit more valuable, but probably 4 times as valuable as a Marriott point is. So perfect example is Anaheim. So we do enjoy Disney, even though we don't have any kids yet. We still enjoy going there. Not quite fully fledged Disney adults. That's not a derogatory word in our house. But there's a Hyatt house that is on the same strip where all the hotels are in Disneyland in Anaheim. And it is often 12 to 16,000 points a night. There's also a Fairfield Inn and a Sheraton and every other kind of brand that you can imagine. And they are 60 to 90,000 points per night.
It's insane.
Like, it is crazy.
Yeah.
So if you are a more North America focused traveler and you're not looking overseas, you'll probably get way more value out of a Hyatt point than you will out of a Marriott point. So that's definitely something that's worth mentioning here as well. Okay. The next interesting takeaway from this partnership that we want to talk about is that Marriott Titanium status now gives a pathway to Hyatt Elite status in a very roundabout way. So this is even more roundabout if we extend it to the 75K status match that we don't quite know about yet. But essentially how this works is if you are a Marriott Titanium, you are going to get Aeroplan 25K status with that when you link your accounts together. So by having Aeroplan 25K status, you get access to one Hyatt status challenge every year, and that could potentially unlock Globalist. And then by having Globalist, you might even be able to unlock 75K. So I think Marriott Titanium was already a very appealing status. We've talked about this quite a lot on the show. We did a show dedicated to Marriott, and it was really evident there just how amazing the status benefits are. But we talked about status merry-go-rounds a little bit earlier. How funny is it that top-tier Marriott status can now give you top-tier Hyatt Elite status as well? I think that's just absolutely fantastic.
I agree.
All right. So what does this mean for the value of Hyatt points going forward? It seems like there's way more opportunities than ever before to earn Hyatt points. It's honestly kind of reminding me a little bit of when Marriott Bonvoy became a program, and we have all these different credit cards. We have way more point earning opportunities. And since the launch of Marriott Bonvoy, it's just continued to go down. So, Jeff, what do you think? Is this the beginning of the end for Hyatt? Is this sort of signaling that we're going to see values and points go down with this new partnership? Or there's other things that are in the works as well, I'm sure?
So what this initially made me think of when I saw that Hyatt was doing this partnership with Aeroplan is like, we've been talking for like over a year now. Like, we need more co-branded hotel credit cards in Canada. And I'm just now wondering, and Hyatt has said they want to expand their presence in Canada. So is this it? Or are they now just testing the waters?
Is this
to
like
see
a
what the response
catalyst?
is?
Yeah.
To see, hey, maybe we do want to bring a co-branded credit card to Canada. Because, you know, we've seen Neo and Brim kind of like come out of left field with these
That's true.
U.S. partnerships that we did not see coming. So I'm just kind of wondering, is that maybe, and you know what, this could actually just be it. Like, this is all we get from Hyatt. So I'm just kind of wondering, they could go either. I don't know. What do you guys think? They could go either way, right? If you want my opinion, I think this is it. Canada's just too small of a market. Like, the U.S. only has one basic Hyatt credit card. So I don't think I think this is it.
I'm shocked we got this. First of all, when this news came out, I was like, oh my God, like, this is actually substantial and a hotel program, which is very weird for us up north. I'm not sure if it's a sign of things to come. You know, I think this is a very robust and well thought out partnership. First of all, it's not like they just said, oh, here's a basic status match, whatever, right? Or maybe you get a little bit of perks. Like, I can tell going through this, somebody or multiple teams spent a lot of time on doing this right and doing it well. I think we would all say we'd love to see a co-branded Hyatt card, right? Where, you know, that there's nothing but good things, but I'm not sure. Like, we've only had the 2 Marriott cards for so long, and there's people out there who know far more than I about demand and whatnot in the market, and maybe it's just not there. And Hyatts are weird in Canada. Like, there just isn't that many, which makes it tough, right? So I don't know. I'm pretty pleased with this. For what it's worth, I think this is a great partnership. I'd love a co-brand, but I'm not holding my breath. But as Danny said at the start of this episode, none of us would have ever guessed this year, and we've been wrong before. No. And you know, I'd love to be wrong again with deepening this Hyatt Canada relationship.
Well, as a deep cut in terms of the lore of Frugal Flyer, I think Jeff is saying that there won't be any more co-branded credit cards because he's salty about his prediction from the end of 2025.
2026 is the year of the co-brands, baby.
That's right. Jeff, do you want to remind all the ladies and gentlemen about what your prediction was for the year of 2026?
Yeah, my prediction was no new co-branded cards, and I think we've gotten, I want to say at least one. We've got an announcement that there's another one coming, but we haven't heard anything about it since January, so who knows what's happening there.
That's true. Yes, the Air Transat cards. Actually, we haven't heard anything more about that. Josh, have you got any inside information to share?
Nothing.
Yeah, Desjardins Bank, they do things different over in Quebec, and we love them for it, but not quite the same as the rest of Canada. But that's good. Canada's a big country. All right, so our last takeaway that we want to discuss is that Amex US membership rewards now transfers to Hyatt indirectly because of the partnership with Aeroplan. Of course, you can transfer Amex US membership rewards to Air Canada, and then you can send those points to Hyatt from Air Canada. So 300,000 points for a sign-up bonus is shocking to say that it's not all that uncommon for US Biz Platinums and all that sort of thing. Would either of you ever take a 300,000 point sign-up bonus and convert it to 150,000 Hyatt points?
No, I wouldn't personally. I get
All right. Jeff?
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on that. I guess if I had $1 million USMR, maybe.
Yeah.
If that 300,000 was my only 300,000, no, I would not.
Definitely not. Yeah, you got to be swimming in membership rewards to really see that and think that it's the right thing for you. But yeah, hotel points. There's 1 million hotel credits out there. There's 1 million free night certificates that we have reasons to redeem and use all the time. So if you're struggling with your lodging options, I maybe, but for most people in the award travel game, flights take up such a huge portion of the budget when it comes to the points that, if you're saving on the flight, then you can probably not splurge a little bit, but allocate more of your travel budget towards those hotel costs. All right, very interesting thoughts from all of you. Our outro. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Miles Ahead. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any questions about anything we discussed, please leave a comment wherever you're listening or on the episode page at FrugalFlyer.ca. And if you have a question you want us to answer on air, you can leave it in a comment or submit it at FrugalFlyer.ca/podcast. Bye, everybody.